Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces and welcome new ones to this virtual gathering. My name is Ryan Flahad. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, where it's currently snowing. I manage product development for SimTix, and I'm excited to be here with you all. Collaborating with awesome instructors like yourselves is one of the most rewarding aspects of my job. Your insights and experiences are incredibly valuable, and they constantly inspire and inform us as we strive to create the best learning technology we can create for your students. Like my other colleagues in the Zoom room here, I'm always eager to learn from you. And over the years of working with allied health instructors, I've noticed a shared appreciation for opportunities to connect and exchange ideas. That's why we're hosting the second installment in our series of get-togethers, where we can learn from each other. And last time we focused on building student confidence. Today we're diving into the benefits of blended learning. This isn't intended to be a one-way discussion. It's a two-way conversation. So please don't be shy to actively participate. Share your thoughts and ask questions. We want to tap into the collective expertise in this room. And after my quick introduction, we'll hear from a couple of amazing guest speakers, and then we'll open the floor for a conversation where you can contribute directly or leave comments in the chat. But I encourage you to do both throughout. Again, this is not intended to be a presentation as much as a conversation. So if you feel comfortable speaking up, do that. If you prefer to work in chat, do that. And if something you post in chat doesn't get addressed directly during the session, we will follow up with you afterwards. We'll have a transcript. So any questions that you ask that we don't answer, any requests for demos, anything else, we'll make sure that we follow up with you. So now I'd like to introduce my fellow contributors. Shelley Zimbelman is a former instructor and educator who now serves as one of our in-house medical education experts for SimTix. Ryan Knapp is an educational technology expert, and he'll be watching our chat to ensure that we bring ideas and questions from the chat into our conversation. Amy Samuels, one of you, a program director at the University of Alaska Southeast, and Barb Westwick as well, is a former program director at MedCerts and an allied health education consultant, as well as an author for SimTix. So let's get started. Most of you are most familiar with our flagship product, SimTix, which provides simulation-based training to help allied health learners master procedural and professional skills, those skills that they'll need to succeed when they enter the workplace. SimTix simulations are realistic, interactive, and offer a variety of learning modes. And if you haven't seen SimTix, please let us know in the chat and we'll set up a live demo for you. We've got a few stats up here that I think are pretty impressive. We've had 4.1 million simulations performed, 1.2 million quizzes conducted, and over 165,000 medical professionals trained on SimTix. So, we have a record of success, and we work with a lot of you already, and we hope to work with more of you in the future. So let's go ahead and do another Zoom waterfall. Before we jump in to discuss the benefits of enhancing traditional learning with technology, could you each take a couple of seconds and type in some of the challenges that you or your students face with traditional learning that does not include technology? So when you look at the classroom before you incorporated technology, or if you still haven't been able to, what are some of the challenges that you face pre-technology? And this could be anything. This could be, time management. This could be access to resources for your students. There's some prompts that we put up here in terms of not having the tools to be successful. Attendance, that's a good one. Yep. Engagement. We'll talk a little bit about that next.
Carol, maybe I would ask on attendance. Do you find technology aiding attendance, meaning the students are more likely to show up if they've had other chances to work with the material online, or is it sort of a substitute for attendance and that they don't need to show up necessarily in person and they can make up for it online?
Online, they tend to be more tend towards better attendance when the classes are offered online.
Yeah, interesting. Busy lifestyles and so forth. Yeah, got it.
Correct. Yes, because some of them do engage in part-time work, and I find that they want to multitask, and so online classes offer them an opportunity to just sneak away for a few minutes to engage with their lessons.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, a lot of great ideas in the chat as well. And we'll cover a number of those in our conversation today. So let's go through our agenda real quickly, and I'll show you the topics we're going to cover. We're going to talk about increasing engagement and improving academic achievement, increasing access to education, preparing students for the workforce, and then finish off with some best practices for using simulations in blended learning environments. So now let's hand over the mic to my colleague, Shelley. She'll be sharing strategies for boosting student engagement and academic success. So Shelley, Over to you.
Yeah, Brian. When I was a director and an instructor, I found that blended learning, having that model allowed for the use of more of the modern learning tech within our curriculum. It was helpful for us to flip our classroom and allow students to learn and practice techniques at their own pace. And before we came together in the classroom. There are some students out there that are quieter than others or learn at a different pace. So by having that blended model, there was an increased opportunity to level out that playing field, so to speak. Our students' confidence and engagement during lab activities increased, and they were hitting the ground running, even teaching each other how things that they had learned prior to coming into lab. What this did was it allowed for me and my instructors to have the ability to utilize class and lab time in more meaningful ways. As an example, it accelerated discussions and we were able to tailor practice time based on the individual strengths and weaknesses of our students. And most importantly, the clinical experiences of the students and the clinical site instructors improved. I had students at clinical side by side with other schools. And at one point, I had a clinical site instructor pull me aside during a site visit, which I was prepared to hear the worst about something that had gone on with a student. But we'll come to find out, they were sharing with me that they were just so busy, short-staffed, that they found students to kind of be burdensome, kind of in their way. And so they had met to decide we're going to have to limit the amount of students we have. And then was it going to be us or the other school or both of us? And so they didn't cut us, they cut the other school because that clinical site instructor, she's like, she had seen over the last month or so a marked difference in my student and wanted to know what we were doing. And that her statements was that my student was showing more confidence at the clinical site, engaging more with the staff and asking like good questions, wanting to know like where equipment is, what's the protocol you follow, can I go set things up, can I get started, things like that, that prior to us flipping our classroom and kind of giving them more advantages to practice, this particular student was a little more reserved, would kind of just sit in the background, and she just like, it flipped a switch for her. That's the best way I can describe it. So if I'm ever back in the environment to teach, I wouldn't teach any other way. It has to be blended.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelley. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments related to the themes that Shelley just mentioned? And you can speak up directly or feel free to use chat. But again, talking about, ways that blended learning can help with increased engagement and improved academic achievement. Next, we'll hear from Amy Samuel, and she's going to share her unique experience using SimTix to enhance student access to learning content, and her story is very unique. So Amy, on to you.
Thanks. So my program is based in Alaska, and we have an extremely hybrid program. So much of our content is delivered online. And then we have the students get together twice a semester for clinical skills intensives. And so my goal with my program was to prepare students for those clinical skills intensives when they come to clinicals, to be fully prepared. And I think about 2016, I met Sherry Vanderbeek at the Medical Assisting Conference, and I heard about SimTix. I've been doing this type of hybrid learning since 2010, 2012. So this technology really looked to me like it could open up a lot of opportunities for my students to help them come to clinicals by being prepared. My concern was that I have students all over Alaska in small villages and remote islands with no road system, only flights between islands. And so my concern was that the Wi-Fi and the internet capability would be a potential roadblock. So we started with a pilot program and the students loved it. And we had no connectivity problems at all. And we've continued using it every year since then. I continually ask my students, are you having problems? Did you have any glitches? And I never hear that that's a problem. So it really does help them be prepared for clinicals. It really brings value to their pre-learning before we do the hands-on. They've seen the procedure before, they've learned, they've read the content, and they really do bring those comments and questions into our clinical sessions. So I feel that it's a very, very great use of their time and preparation for their clinical experience. And the accessibility has been seamless.
That's awesome. Thanks, Amy. And not everybody faces the same geographic challenges you do, but some people face similar geographic challenges. But overall, are there any thoughts from the rest of the participants on how technology can facilitate a broader access to learning opportunities? And again, you can speak up directly or use the chat feature to make your comments or ask any questions.
Yeah, I have a question, please. This is Manar from California Career Institute. My question, do the simulation solution that you are providing require specific technical requirements or not?
When you say specific technical requirements, you mean actual, like the computer and
That's
browser
correct.
and such? Yeah, no,
That's
that's one of the beautiful things about how we've designed this is we've tried to be very egalitarian. So, we talk about things like VR, which would require, expensive VR headsets. And our goal with this product is to meet the students where they are, knowing that some of them have economic issues, some of them just don't have a lot of technology in their home. But if they have anything with a browser, any computer or device, we really strive to meet them where they are so that the technology is not a hindrance to their education.
So is it a cloud solution or there is a specific software that has to be downloaded onto the student's computer?
No downloads. It's directly through the browser. It's all from the cloud.
One more question, please. Is this simulation solution can be integrated with the learning management system in general and with Canvas in specific?
Yeah, so the answer is yes and yes. One of our core capabilities is integrations. And so we integrate out of the box with all of the major academic LMSs. And Canvas is where we play the best. We have a lot of great capabilities. And so Manar, if you would like to see what it looks like inside of Canvas, we'd be happy to arrange a demo and you can actually see what our product looks like in Canvas. There's a lot of great ways that you can just make it super easy and just run it out of the box. You can also customize the student's learning experience.
That's great.
You want. Yep.
Yeah, I have one more question regarding the integration too. How about the grades of the students for their assignments on the simulation solution that you have? Are the grades will be uploaded automatically on Canvas, or it has to be uploaded by the instructors manually?
It's automatic with the integration. It's seamless. And not only that, a lot of products that call themselves sort of simulations are really videos where students answer multiple choice questions. In our platform, the students are actually graded on their interactivity within the simulation itself. So if it has to do with a needle, the placement and angle of incidence of the needle, they're actually graded on that, not just the multiple choice questions that they answer. So yes, the grading is very authentic in terms of assessing their ability to perform each skill within a procedure. And yes, it automatically loads into the gradebook for you. And then it gives you quite a bit of detail. And then if you want even greater detail, we have our own gradebook on our side that can give you a great level of detail.
Wonderful. One more question, please. Regarding the simulation solution itself, is it adaptive or depends on the student's performance, or it's just fixed questions and the student has to answer and do the assignments regardless of the student's performance in the previous assignment, for example?
It is not adaptive in meaning that it actually changes the questions, the upcoming questions because of the way that a student has performed. But the way that it does, it breaks the procedure down into, as you guys know, me as a patient, I think a procedure is simple. You know that there's actually many, many steps. And so it breaks it down into each step and then assesses the student along each step. But what it does do is provide students first what we call learn mode. So it gives them guidance. It's color coded. So we're not out there to say like, gotcha. We're out there to actually help them achieve mastery. And so they first go through learn mode. It's a safe place. They can go over and over and over as much as they want. And then at the end, there's a test mode, which is what would flow into your grade book. But in the middle, there's also a mode that allows them, a practice mode that allows them to experience the test mode, but again, in a safe environment. So we give them a lot of opportunities to master the procedure and then demonstrate to you they've mastered the procedure when they're ready to go into test mode. Great. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? I didn't see anything in the chat. No. All right, great. Well, that was awesome. So now Barb Westrick is going to elaborate on how SimTix contributes to preparing students for the demands of the workforce. So how it gets them ready to actually start their job.
Hey, everyone. So just to kind of give you some background, I've been in this field for 40 years. I started when I was 5, but I kind of can say Amy and Shelley really exaggerated all of the things that are of benefit to students using this blended learning. When I started in the field, 40 years ago, never could have imagined that, medical assisting was my focus to begin with, could be taught in an online environment. And then I connected with Sherry and learned about SimTix and was amazed by the product that would really give the students a chance to practice these skills. And then, in face-to-face learning, practice them person to person. So the company that I have worked with for the last 5 years, we're even more unique in the sense that our curriculum is completely online. We have a lot of elements in our course, including SimTix and some other vendor products that prepare that student for the workforce. And COVID really did become an advantage to us because it helped employers learn that students can learn online and be successful in the field. Never could have imagined that, 30 years ago. So we started partnering with all of these healthcare systems across the country, including Alaska, including, all the states and, all of, 50 United States. And we're able to create some partnerships with them and help them understand that we're going to prepare these students for this field. And then they're going to bring them on, whether it was apprenticeship, whether it was asynchronous or synchronous learning, where they did a few of our parts of our courses and then worked in the field with them and trained face-to-face, or they completed the program completely and then they brought them on and would teach them their face-to-face clinical skills, knowing that they had learned, the foundation of that in the online environment. And our like 2,000 students right now that are in the MA program, the medical assisting program, the pass rate for, let me look at my notes here, certification is over 85%. The job placement rate is 65 to 70%, but that's sometimes just because, which is actually really good, because sometimes people get through the program and they think, well, you know what, this is not for me. And that's just the way it is. But that's a really good outcome for those students. And they have actually passed the certification before they were even in that face-to-face environment. So it just goes to show you that that online, learning with the SimTix simulated product is preparing them, for that certification exam. And so I've seen it from, none of this online environment to what we're doing today and realizing who would have thought that this would have been successful? And it really is a successful way for adult learners who have a need for this flexibility. So, you know, it is the way of the future. It's what we need to do for our students to give them that flexibility and that, you know, ability to become successful in the field, whatever that is.
Thanks, Barb. That's a fantastic story. And, you know, we all together, you know, the SimTix team and all of you as instructors and educators, you know, we share this goal of having the students achieve success. And at the end of the day, you know, in this trajectory, success means success on the job. And, you know, if we can help them achieve that together, that's amazing. Are there any additional thoughts on how technology can bridge the gap between education and future employment? And again, feel free to speak up, feel free to work through the chat. But the goal is for us all to learn together. And so, you know, how can technology help bridge the gap between education and employment?
I have a question, but it's not related to the technology. I'm not sure if we can ask it now. My question is this simulation tool linked to a specific textbook, or there is a list of textbooks that are available on the simulation tool? Because, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it aligns with all of the major textbooks. We have a specific partnership with Elsevier where we've, you know, built the alignment into the technology. But yeah, it aligns with any of the textbooks that you use. It's kind of a standalone product in and of itself, and some people just use it. So yeah, so
is it objective organized or box organized assignments?
We organized it to the best understanding of our curriculum for the vast majority of our instructors. So yeah, so we built it on the instructor curriculum rather than being beholden to any textbook. But like I said, we have documents that can help you align with any textbook. And if you're using an Elsevier book, we actually have the actual technological links built in.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions about the employment and how we can better prepare students for employment? Okay, good. So that's kind of the end of that section where, you know, we had thought leaders talking about those three components. And I'm hoping that we can have a conversation with the whole group and talk about best practices for integrating simulations into the blended learning experience for your students. So that kind of gets at your question that you just had for me is like, how do you best integrate simulations into your class along with the textbook, and if you have lecture or anything else?
I had one specific question, kind of maybe following up on something that Amy had said about better preparing your students, coming better prepared for some of the procedures they needed to learn. I was curious, just for everyone, I guess, are you more often assigning, whether it's SimTix or any of these other tools that you might be using, the hybrid portion, the online portion, before you cover it in class, so that they come prepared and kind of ready to speak to it, or after, more as a review after you've already walked through it in class? Feel free to put it in the chat or speak up, but curious how most people are using this.
So the way that we have designed it is that I have a module-based curriculum. And so we have one topic a week. We do meet in a synchronous format over Zoom once a week to go over the topic. And general, I usually have the students do an activity. So last night we were doing telehealth practice. And so what I do is I assign them their textbook. I don't use an integrated platform. So Manar, I use it totally separately. The students go in and access it on the web, and that has worked great for us. So what I do is I assign them their textbook assignment. They come to class and we have our activity, and then they do the simulation that week and turn it in for a grade for their lab time. And then weeks later, 6 weeks later, 4 weeks later, we get together and we practice whatever it is that they have done. So if they've done blood pressures or EKGs, they actually have done the work prior to coming, and they bring that qualitative information. Oh yeah, I remember when in SimTix, when we were placing this, they'll bring that up in class. So I use it kind of in a format of flipped classroom before they come, and then reinforcing those concepts during our clinicals.
Awesome, thanks, Amy. Any other thoughts from the group about how you can integrate, how you do now or could integrate simulations into the actual class to create a blended learning experience?
I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's related to this segment or not. My question is about rubric. If there is a specific rubric for to grade assignments that the simulation tool has.
Yeah, so there is a built-in rubric in terms of how the student is scored. You know, each step in the procedure is a point, and depending on how many steps there are, that's, you know, the score that they're given. That said, as I mentioned before, especially if you're using like Canvas, which I think you're talking about using, you have the ability to really customize how that scoring mechanism feeds into your gradebook. And so you can emphasize certain things. You can, you know, you can very much customize the student experience around all the different assets that we provide for a specific module. So, but yeah, that's how. But basically, it's 1 point per step, and depending on how many steps there are in the procedure.
Yeah, I really appreciate your answer. Thank you.
And Ryan, you might want to mention about the certificates. They have a cut score for the certificates. They can't get their certificate issued unless they've met that at a certain %.
Yep. And so it automatically generates a certificate, and you can use that as part of your grading or assessment if you desire to do that.
Yeah. So is the certificate issued per module or per objective?
Per module.
Per module. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Well, in summary, because I think we're at the half hour now, and I want to be conscious of your time. We've seen some compelling examples of how online simulation can enrich the blended learning experience and effectively teach a wide range of procedural and professional skills, help foster student confidence, provide opportunities for risk-free practice, and to demonstrate mastery at each individual's unique pace. Thank you for joining us. This is, as I mentioned before, the second installment of this interactive dialogue series that we hope to continue throughout the coming years. And as always, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm always available if I can assist you or your students in any way. I love hearing from customers. I love hearing great things, and I love hearing if you're having problems, and I can help resolve them and make the product better. For those who are unfamiliar with SimTix in action, you can request a demo and a 7-day free trial directly in the chat, or you can use the QR code that you see on the screen right now to access our book a demo page. And so thank you for your dedication, and have a wonderful afternoon. And if anyone wants to stay back in the, for questions, I'll stay online as long as needed, but I really appreciate your attendance and interaction today. Thank you.